All right, thank you for volunteering to make some face masks for our local healthcare community. This is following the directions issued by Tallahassee Memorial Hospital in Tallahassee, Florida. So the supplies that you will need that will make this, and some that will make this project easier. One, you need 2 pieces of fabric, cotton fabric. They've asked for solid fabrics when possible. These are cut to 7 inches by 8 inches, and there's 2 different colors. We've also cut strips of fabric that will become the straps. I've used the entire width of the fabric, which is 42 inches, to just cut a 2-inch strip, and I'll cut these down later to the size needed. Other tools that you need are a piece of wire. This will go into the nose part to make the mask snug. And I've already taken my pliers and twirled the ends in so that the sharp edges are not going to stick out. You'll also want to have scissors and a ruler. If you have a mat such as this one with the grid on it, that will also make your project easier, as well as a water soluble or chalk marker or a chalk pen. And if you have a bias strip maker, that will help you to fold the fabric more easy for the straps, and it will also show you a simple way to pin the fabric so that you can more easily make those straps as well, and this may not even be something that you wished you had. I'm also going to use my thread ripper occasionally as a guide when sewing, and then I have an ironing board and a sewing machine as well. All right, so we are now over at our machine, and we've put the 2 layers of fabric under the presser foot, and we want to do a 1/4 inch seam. So that's going to have us lining the fabric right up at the edge of our presser foot, and we're just going to sew the entire length of that 7-inch side. Once we've done that, we're going to turn our fabric right side out, and then we are going to go ahead and do another 1/4 inch to make a pocket on each side. Here we go. You'll see I've got a pocket all the way along the edge. We're going to take that wire and insert it into that little pocket. This is now the top of your mask. All right, we also have to sew this edge. Straightening that out. All right, so here we go. Let's sew that other edge really quick. All right, and now we're going to move back over to the cutting board. Okay, so we've sewn our mask top and bottom, and we've got our wire in the top. I like to take and just use my water soluble marker and mark which end is the top. Now we're going to take our mask and we're going to do a few little measurements. So I'm lining this up on this end, on the top end, and then I'm going to mark at 2 inches, and then I'm going to mark every ½ inch after, because it's just easier to do it this way. Now, they've asked that we minimize the use of pins when making our masks whenever possible. So we're going to try to use a couple clips. These are just kind of standard chip clips, and I'm going to fold my first 2-inch mark down to my 3rd mark, and I'm going to just clip this there for a second to hold it in place. And then I'm going to take this mark right here, this first visible mark, and I'm going to fold that down. And I'm going to adjust my clips a little bit so that it kind of grabs all of that. And then I'm going to grab this mark and fold it down to the very last mark. Okay, and my clip doesn't have to be perfect on this. Your pleats do not have to be absolutely perfect, but when you do it right, oops, I grabbed too much fabric on that one. When you do it right, you will see that your mask ends up as a 4-inch wide mask. Now the clips are a little tricky. You gotta be a little patient with yourself, but do your best. And then I'm just going to move this over here to my iron and give it a quick little press. So I'm going to line my pleats back up, and I can just take my clip off really quick, and I can iron part of it. Once you get that iron down on top of it, you're going to be totally fine with getting your pleats. And there you go. And then you can just use your fingers to guide it through. If you need to fix it a little bit, you can. If they shifted, and just press it. If you need to stick a pin in the side, you'll be all right, because you're going to sew over that anyway, but try to use as few pins as possible. We're back at the machine, and we're just going to sew over those pleats. We're going to need to guide them a little bit since we have no pins, but it's going to be okay. We're using that 1/4 inch seam again, so we're just have that lined up at the edge of our presser foot, and here we go. I do find it easier to flip it over and go with the pleats. So you can totally flip your fabric over, use the other side of your presser foot as your guide, and then sew. It does seem easier if you're not using pins to go with the pleats to keep them lined up. Okay, so now we're going to fold our 2-inch strip of fabric to make our straps. And what we've done here is basically I have folded in from each side. If you take the middle of the strap, you can find the middle of the strap like this, just fold it in half, and then you can fold each piece in like this with your finger, and then you can pin it and if you're using an ironing board, you can just pin it straight in. Make sure that you're using iron-proof pins, glass-headed pins that won't melt under the iron. And you can just kind of go down your piece of fabric and take care of that. The other way is if you have, and then just, you're just going to go over it with an iron. The other way is if you have a bias tape maker like this, you feed the fabric through one end and then you just pull it through as you iron over it. So you just, and then you'll end up with that fabric like you want. On this end, same kind of thing. You see what's going on there? You're going to just iron over those folds, and you can either kind of keep folding along with it or stop and fold it in and pin it and then continue. This is going to be a slightly time-consuming part of each mask, but I promise it's going to get easier as you go along. And like I said, if you're lucky enough to have one of those bias strip makers, that's going to make this even easier. Okay, so now we have ironed our straps, and remember I said that mine were a little longer because they're that 42 inches, so we want to cut these down to be 36 inches. So I'm going to just cut 6 inches off, and then we're going to remember which side is our top. Remember, it's the side with the wire, and we're going to affix our straps. So I'm just taking the fabric and folding it in half, and then I want to use as few pins as possible. So I'm taking this and I'm going to take the middle and, oops, I just threw a pin. And I'm going to put this down here and I'm going to cover up this raw edge. So here we go. And I'm going to just pin that there. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other strap. So again, find my middle. There's my middle. Take my mask. This does not have to be absolutely perfect at this stage, because you'll have enough. Alright, here we go. So we're going to pin this here too. This is just going to kind of help us keep our straps lined up in the middle. And then when you sew this, you're going to start on one end of your strap. You want to tuck this in a little bit and then fold it over. And then we're going to sew along this whole raw edge all the way from one end to the other, folding in both ends so that we have nice ends. Let's go back to the machine. All right, we are almost done with our mask now. So let's do this final step. So we're back at the machine, and in this case I have the open side on the left, and I'm going to just lift up my presser foot, and your strap is basically going to be the same width as your presser foot. If you have the option to move your needle over on your machine, you can do that all the way over, almost all the way to the edge. If not, you're going to want to move your presser foot. You're going to want to move your fabric over just a little bit so that your fabric is lined up maybe right inside of your presser foot. You've got a little bit sticking out over here, but you want to get that your stitches pretty close to the edge, but you don't want to miss. So again, I'm using that navy blue thread so that you can see what's going on, and we'll go from there. Just keep making sure that your thread, or your fabric I mean, is along the edge. You just kind of keep folding as you go, unless you want to take the time to pin it, but they did ask us to use as few pins as possible. All right, let's speed this up. All right, so here's our finished mask. We've got our straps, and our wire is hidden in here, and our pleats. Now it's time to just make some more and then drop them off at the hospital. Thank you all for jumping in and helping. You're awesome.